love to get your thoughts firstly on that. We just talked about like Niemela and Hervinen. Can you talk about where they were at a couple of years ago and where they're at right now?
Yeah, Niemela in particular was a guy that I'm just surprised never made it work. I know he wasn't the biggest guy, but the moment he came over to the Marlies, it was like, okay, this is his opportunity to shine. And I don't believe he ever even played in a regular season game, did he, in the NHL? So, like, we never got to see what he was capable of. But that's also because he just didn't really improve. Like, watching him with the Marlies, like late in the season this year compared to watching him in the first month of his AHL career, we just didn't see anything like improve there. So kind of disappointed where you'd watch him and you watch William Villeneuve, and I'd say Villeneuve was better more nights than not. Like that shouldn't be the case for your top defensive prospect. So that wasn't positive. And then Ronnie Hervinen, like that one's tough because he just dealt with so many injuries and had to play catch up. Ton of skill. This is a guy that probably, in other situations could have made it work. But the fact is he spent too much time trying to figure out how to catch up to everybody else, and it didn't work.
Yeah, one of those things. Funny with prospects. And as we look at this 2025 draft, Steven, what's the consensus on it? What kind of players are in there? Is it a good mix of players, or who are those top guys, top 10, say? Is there a theme in there, or is it heavy, or what are people saying?
This is a year where if you need a centerman, you're going to probably, especially early, you're going to be pretty happy. You're looking at guys like Michael Misa, Caleb Desnoyers, James Hagens, Anton Frundell. There's a couple good options there. And I think you'll hear a lot of people say this is a weak draft. I will not use those words, weak draft, for this one, because the top 10 is actually really solid. Like you could get 10 really fantastic NHL players that could be competing at very high levels very soon. It's the depth where this draft starts to kind of fall off. I think around like 24, 25, 26, that's where things are not great. So for Toronto, not having a first round pick, like it's not a real loss for them. Obviously, you want to have as many picks as you can, but it's not something where you're going to be crying because you can't get like Blake Fiddler at 26 type thing.
Who's the most NHL ready player in your eyes?
Michael Misa from, and I think you might know which city he's from, Oakville, Ontario. That's a guy who's got good frame. He's just, I think, under 6'2", but he just scored like 62 goals in the OHL, which is unbelievable for a draft eligible prospect. And it's not like he's like a third year guy. Like he has 3 years of OHL experience, but the first year was exceptional status year. It's not like he just had a big offensive explosion as an older player in this draft. Like he's actually, like he's not one of the older guys, and he still was able to go out there and put up numbers that we haven't seen since Patrick Kane when he played for the London Knights. So outstanding season. Should he be in the NHL next year? No, and I don't know if anyone should be in the NHL. For Misa, I want to see that intensity ramp up a bit more in college, and I feel like that's a good opportunity for him, especially if he goes number 2 to San Jose, where there's not much for him going. But if he makes the NHL, I get it, because he's got that skill, and I feel like if anyone can translate that immediately to the big leagues, it's him.
And with the Leafs picks not being real high, kind of late second rounder, is there some names floating around that you think the bill as far as what Treliving and company are looking for?
Well, it's like you look at what they've typically done in the last couple of years, and it seems like the Leafs they try to swing high in the later rounds, but they always want to get big. They want to get these big guys, like Ben Danford's a guy who likes to be difficult to play against. I've been looking at Theo Stockelius out of Sweden as a guy to maybe keep an eye out. He's a 6'3" power forward. Like he's probably going to be more of a bottom 6 guy, but he's going to be a very powerful bottom 6 guy, a guy that's difficult to play against. I like Carter Amico. He's 6'5". He had a season-ending injury like in November, so he didn't get to play a lot this year, but he was probably a fringe first-round prospect before that. So the fact that he might be around in Toronto's range because of his lack of playing time, I think is really impressive. There's also Daniil Prokhorov. He's a really big 6'5" forward. You're starting to see a trend here. These are big dudes, but with him, he's another power forward guy that his stat line looks like it kind of hilarious. He had 20 goals this year, but only 27 points in the Russian Junior League. So he scored a lot. Didn't get a ton of points, but he was still one of the better players in the Russian junior level, which isn't the highest level, but he still was quite impressive there. And I feel like a lot of people really started to grow on him when they realized, oh, this guy like can skate, he can hit everybody, and he's got that size. So that's what it feels like Toronto would be leaning towards. Maybe they go out there and and bet high on potential and get a guy like Carlos Handel, played over in the QMJHL this past year. He was Germany's best defenseman of the World Juniors, under 18s, and the Helinka Gretzky. So they're going to get some good options, but it's nobody to get super excited about.
Some of these guys sound like made up players in NHL 25. Like they're like I'm already having nightmares about trying to pronounce some of these names, Ellis. Like this, I don't know. Since we have you, I've been struggling with the Russian netminder on the Marlies. Do you have proper pronouncing it? Is it Akhtamov?
I think I've pronounced it 400 different ways, so I'm not even going to pretend to try like I know how to do it. Like,
okay.
I've watched him play many times in person, and I'm like, he's just AA to me. That's good.
I call him the Russian goalie, so we're gonna stick with that until this guy's in the show. But what kind of themes have you noticed with Brad Treliving? I can't believe this is year 3 at the helm with Tree as the GM for the draft. But you intimated a bit, but bigger bodies is what we've seen a lot.
That, and like you look at especially under Wes Clark, that was a guy that was really willing to bet high on potential, and Easton Cowan could be the one that really works out. Sam McHugh might be the one from last year's draft that can maybe surprise people. Miroslav Halinka, 5th round pick. I really like Noah Chadwick, outstanding value with I think it was the 185th pick or something like that in 2023. So they've drafted really well late, at least in relative to like where those players were projected to go. So we'll see kind of if they can go get that extra value. Like, how many picks do they have? 3? Like, they don't have a ton to work with, so they're going to have to bet high here. But that's the thing. They look at a guy who might be undersized, or they might look at a player who's got very little offensive ability, and they'll try and say, well, we're going to bet high on the things you're really good at and hope you can turn into something. And when you're drafting 5th, 6th, 7th round, just you're swinging anyways. You're looking for someone to be this miracle prospect. And Sam McHugh was one that I loved for them last year because I don't think anyone saw him becoming this potential legitimate NHL prospect, but I could see him becoming like a difficult 4th line player to play against one day.
Mm-hmm. And in the scouting ranks, Mark Leach, it's his first year with the Maple Leafs doing a draft here. Longtime member of the Dallas Stars. Does he have a theme that he likes to follow? Obviously, they've done pretty well in Dallas. Obviously, what kind of ideas is he bringing forth to the Maple Leafs? Does he have a type of player he seems to go after?
He likes guys that work really hard. Like when you look at when they drafted Logan Stankoven in the 2nd round, what an outstanding pick that turned out to be. But he was someone who, at least at the junior level, was so competitive for a 5'8" guy. But they also got Wyatt Johnson. That's a player who competed hard, but not many people really felt confident in because he only played at the U18 World Championship that year. He didn't do any OHL hockey because of the COVID lockdown. So the fact that they bet high on his skill and his work ethic has clearly paid off. Leon Bichelle, another one that I really liked a couple years ago. Artem Grushnikov could end up becoming a player for the Calgary Flames one day. They ended up trading him, I believe as part of the Chris Tanev deal. Another guy that works hard. So they've got guys where they're betting high on skill and also betting on just the true work ethic, which seems like something Toronto has tried to do the last couple of years. So it feels like it's a good fit.
Yeah, that Bichelle guy sort of triggers Rosie because he's like 7'8", but he turtled, didn't he, Rosie, in the playoffs? Remember your boy? Where's number 6?
That was ugly. That was ugly. I can't wrap my mind around that. Still.
For a dude that big, it was hilarious watching him at the World Juniors a couple years ago. Like, I think it was 3 breakaways in 1 overtime. He didn't score on any of them. But for a fact that like this is not like a super high-end skater guy, to go out there and get 3 breakaways as the 6'1" defenseman was awesome.
Guy's a giant.
I was just wondering, like with our, the draft comes and goes, and you get some guys, and a couple of years go by, and like an Easton Cowan, is the team pretty high on this kid, or are they just wait and see? Is there a spot for him? What do you see in Easton Cowan's future?
Easton Cowan was a guy that I don't think anyone obviously expected to be as good as he was. Like, he grew a lot. He got way more competitive. I do wonder if he is kind of just the ultimate trade bait at a certain point here. Like, I don't think he's going to be a top line player in the NHL, but I think he could be a really good second liner. I mean, maybe it's on the wing. Maybe he's more of a support guy, but his ability to go out there and win battles, except at the World Juniors for whatever reason, makes him really difficult to play against. And I like him, but like for a team that's always looking to be in win now mode, where does he fit in that system? Like, that's why I feel like he's like the perfect trade piece if they wanted to use that. Especially at the trade deadline this past year. I know his name was thrown around a lot, but it's got to be the right piece. And especially if they're not bringing back Marner, you got to find the way to get some of that offense back, and maybe trading Cowan to get the piece you need is the way to do it, as opposed to going to the free agent market. But who knows? There's a lot. Like, you're going to be happy with him. I'm pretty sure if he makes the Leafs in the next couple of years, he should not be in the Leafs next year. Like, give him a couple games, give him time to just develop to the pro game like they tried to do with Fraser Minton before they trade him.
Ben Danford, last guy I wanted to touch on. Safe to say, I think they got to be pleased with his development.
Yeah, like I always kind of viewed him as like a potential third pairing defenseman, but you still need guys like that, and you need guys that are going to block shots. And like, was he the guy I would have picked at that pick? No, but I still feel like it's a guy that's got a pretty solid chance of becoming an NHL player, and that's because he wants to work hard, he battles hard, he shoves guys around the net. Like, his whole thing of making himself difficult to beat in one-on-one situations is important, because breaking news, he's a defenseman. Not everyone is Lane Hudson or Cale Makar with the puck. You got to be still very good defensively, and that's where he's really strong. So yeah, I think that's one that should pay off for Toronto, especially like he tries to model his game after Chris Tanev, and eventually Chris Tanev's going to retire. Ben Danford is a pretty good replacement, basically.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.